Hi, Kimmy. So I just finished watching your discussion, and I wrote my notes down to just kind of talk about what you had mentioned. So I noticed that you had talked a lot about specifically from your experience because you teach high school and you work with like the CTE students. Um, you had talked mostly about those scenarios, which I know of because I remember in middle school and in high school those courses being offered. And I remember some of my classmates being in that and hearing about it. But since I am an elementary teacher and I am going for right now for elementary school counselor, um, it's interesting just to see when we watch the lectures and we read our discussions and things like that and we review the textbook and the articles. It's just interesting to see how we all get different points of views from it, or we grasp the concepts that are related to us. So I really like how you had mentioned about, I did write some down, but I like how you had mentioned a few things. Mostly, I'll go towards in the end, but it's about just the lack of transparency from the students' part, the pitfall being under reporting. But let me start from the top. You had mentioned that being assessing our programs, you're be able to identify gaps, and then I'm sorry, okay, and then we went into pitfalls, and so let me just start from here. So identifying gaps, within those gaps in assessing the programs and sending out datas and just meeting with your admin, um, and conducting those surveys and things like that. You had said that identifying the gap would be finding the underrepresented groups. Um, for example, you had said if a student is not in CTE but they're all A's and they're honor roll and they have a honor roll, why is it that they're not in those courses? Could it be that they're unaware? I remember being in middle school and not being exposed to AVID and not ever being talked about it. Like, no one ever told me about it. It wasn't until I was like in 8th grade and I noticed the binders that some students had and it said AVID. And then I had asked, what's that? And then they had told me. But that was a little too late. Like, it would be good for, like, and going back to the other point you had said, time with counselor. It would be good if a counselor had met with me and other students like me to explain this to us. And I feel like our job as school counselors is to make sure that students know the services that are available, the opportunities that are available, no matter their I was gonna say their genre, no matter their role. If they're, like, for example here, underrepresented groups, no matter if they're like Latino or if they're African American, are they giving less opportunity to them? But for my experience, it was like most of the students in my school were Hispanic. So it's like that didn't really I guess like interfere my culture and my ethnicity. But I'm saying, like, for upstate and things like that, I know it's very different. Like, just 3 hours from here you get different races in a school, and where I'm from it's mostly Hispanic students, majority of the population. But going back to this, it's kind of like the counselors do need to do the part and make sure that they're, one, honest and professional, and you're just giving opportunities to all students, and making sure that the counselors also have time to see students, because our students are going through a lot. And I know some people, they say they're like oh, then the kids, they just shut down, and then they just say, I don't know. Well, one, if you're going into that situation with a negative mentality of, one, not wanting to help a student, two, just giving up on them already, and three, just not seeing that you can actually help them and going about it at a different way. You have to be approachable, you have to be trustworthy. You can't just talk to them and nag at them. Like my son, he's one, and I try not to just get after him all the time. It's a completely different scenario because that's a mom to a 1 year old compared to like a counselor, a professional to like actual students in different grades. But it's like the same thing. You have to take the time to actually put in effort to help the student. Um, so that was my take on that. Um, and another part would be let me go to the underreporting that you had mentioned, the lack of transparency from students in regards to the lack of food. They have a homeless shelter, um, water at home, things like that. Resources like Wi-Fi. You know, some teachers send home homework and they probably need Wi-Fi, and some kids don't have that Wi-Fi. Or there's just lots of different scenarios, and some kids are, the parents make them take care of the younger siblings, or they make them cook dinner, things like that, like from the scenarios from last semester. I'm sorry, I'm out of breath. um but but those are just things that maybe as school counselors and assessing our programs, we can find ways um, to help students in this area, that because those areas do take effect into our into our into the students' lives. And if the if we as school counselors and professionals, staff, can give them a safe space for them to feel safe and comfortable to open up, that would be a disclosed information that they share with us, um, then we could help them. And then you're able to see the data that is given, and then you can go from there and explore and create different opportunities and strengthen your program in that area. But I definitely feel like the creating safe places for students to open up, because especially I'm thinking, especially in the upper and middle school and high school, especially high school, it's all about your friends and who you know, and just feeling embarrassed, things like that. I feel like in elementary it's more like, okay, they're barely gonna enter into that. When they go to middle school, fifth grade and fourth grade already, you know, but there's still like a bit of like community, I'm saying, I guess, if that makes sense, in that. But there's more here, but I see that's almost 10 minutes, but I'll go ahead and stop here. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.